Protect others. How does a Jedi? Hmm?
This is the weapon of a Jedi Knight.
Build your own lightsaber, you shall.
Elegant weapon in a more civilized age.
Top screw, connection point just helps keep the blade in, and I just kind of like the look of all these parts together. But the way this works is actually fairly simple. I'm going to go ahead and screw this back together. There are, it's just being weird. This top connection point likes to start coming unscrewed every once in a while. But there are LEDs all the way up this blade. There's a LED strip in here, and then there is Ultra Saber's diffusion film in there. So it came as part of the. It's an Ultra Edge blade, is what Ultra Sabers calls it, and it just kind of helps the light diffuse better. And for the way I designed this blade, it just makes it so you see the individual LEDs a little bit less. But it runs off of a USB battery bank that goes into the bottom of this hilt, and you just plug it into here, and that powers the LEDs, and there is a multicolor remote that goes with it. But the battery bank I have currently isn't working. Something broke with the connection on the inside from the battery to the board. But I can, since it is just USB, just plug it into this USB port on this lamp, just to at least give you a look at the lights inside. So like I said, this is a full LED strip. I got this for about $15. It's a Monster brand LED strip. It's currently like a bluish white right now, but it actually, with the multicolor remote, it can be any color I want, any shade of any color, which is super cool. It's the way I designed it on purpose. I purposely went for these LEDs. I didn't want it to just be one color. I like it quite a lot. It's very bright. Originally I had gone with a flashlight design, so it was one really bright LED white flashlight that made this a white lightsaber, which I really liked a lot, and that's what you saw in the intro. That was kind of the first stage of this build. but this is way brighter. It's more visible in the daytime than that was, and it's even brighter at night now. And I like it a lot because it's more customizable. You can make it any color you want, and that's something you can't do with something like an Ultra Saber. The max you can do with that is something like 3 colors. You can get a tricolor LED, which is great and all. And Ultra Sabers is a great company. They make some really quality things. But honestly, I think it's more fun, more practical, and it's definitely cheaper to build your own lightsaber. Let me go ahead and turn this off and I'll tell you why. So when it comes to building a lightsaber like this, when it comes to lightsabers, you can buy. And there are plenty of companies like that. There is companies like Saber Trio, Ultra Sabers, Saber Forge. There are plenty others out there. The blade, but they can be super expensive. Some of them can get a little cheaper, but you're almost always going to pay close to $150 for a nice lightsaber. You can get one of the base ones for a bit less than that, but especially with shipping, it's going to be definitely over the $100 mark, and usually closer to $150, and some of them can even get as high as like $300. But they're great looking things, and they're battle ready. This is a heavy grade Ultra Sabers blade, which is great. It's great quality. However, I will say there are cheaper ways to get a lightsaber, and that's what I did here. Overall, this build without the blade cost me about $35. It depends on the LEDs you use. I had to go through 2 strips. The first one was just a cheap LED strip and broke, so I got a bit of a nicer set this time. Wrapped the connection in electrical tape just to give it a little more stability. And these LEDs are brighter, they're more colors, they're just better overall. So this was definitely a better way to go than the first strip of LEDs that I used, and it's immensely better than the flashlight. So this definitely was the way to go. But when it comes to building, price-wise, like I said, price-wise is way lower. This was $35. The blade itself is going to cost you a little bit more. Ultra Sabers blades go for about $35 plus shipping, so realistically you're going to be paying $50 to $60 for just an Ultra Sabers blade. However, if you look on Saber Trio, they are having some issues due to the coronavirus right now, getting stock out, but I think they still have blades from the reserve stock, because my friends just bought a couple for theirs. That's why I had this spare blade laying around. It was actually one of their old ones. But the Saber Trio blades are definitely just as nice as this, if not nicer actually. They're just as strong. They have a different finish on them. So this is a very glossy finish, whereas they are more of a matte like satiny finish, and they're a little bit thicker and they're more white than clear, which means they don't need the diffusion film on the inside like this lightsaber has, like these Ultra Sabers Ultra Edge blades have. And they're only $15. Now with shipping you're going to get up to probably $30 or $40, but that's still about a $20 savings compared to buying an Ultra Sabers blade. So that's just something to think about. I would definitely go for a Saber Trio blade if you can, but since this I could get to for free, it was definitely the best option to go for me. Basically the way this works, I will say, this Ultra Sabers blade allowed for this build to work really well, because the diffusion film inside, I was able to take it out, lay it all flat, unroll it, and then put my LEDs in it and just roll the LEDs right into it. This would be a little bit more difficult to secure the LEDs inside of a Saber Trio blade just because it doesn't have that diffusion film in it. So the diffusion film is definitely helpful for this build. You can always find other ways to secure the LEDs into a blade if you go for the cheaper Saber Trio blades. But I think this was definitely a great way to go for this. It was the blade I could get to for free. It's a heavy grade blade from Ultra Sabers, so these are not going to break. We do a lot of dueling with these. My friends do have other Ultra Sabers. They've had heavy grade blades from there, and they've replaced them with heavy grade Saber Trio blades, and these things are super strong. I'd say one of the only downsides to building as opposed to buying is the weight. You can probably find some lighter materials. I wouldn't suggest using PVC just because it's not quite as nice as this metal, but you could if you wanted to, or you could just find a lighter metal than this. I did use aluminum, so it's fairly heavy, but I honestly don't mind the weight at all. It's just I have to get used to battling with such a heavy lightsaber because it's really easy to go fast but also hit really hard. You don't want to do that when you're battling, especially when you're just with your friends. You don't want anyone to get really hurt. So you do have to get used to battling with a heavy blade and going fast and not full force and hard. So this, like I said, this all runs through a USB battery bank, which you can just recharge and slide it in there. You just use a little cylindrical battery bank and it works just fine as long as it's a decent enough voltage. It really won't matter at all. I used a $6 Walmart battery bank, and it worked just fine. Except I broke it. But overall, this saber is a super cool build. I had so much fun building it, and honestly, I think it's way more fun to build than to just buy. However, those ones that those companies make, it is really hard to machine and make metal engraved and stuff like that quite as well as they can, because they do make some absolutely beautiful looking lightsaber hilts and some really quality lightsabers. I just prefer to build. It's a lot of fun, because it's especially great if you really can't afford to pay $100 to $200 for a lightsaber. So I definitely highly suggest doing this. It's really not hard at all. So if you're at all handy, definitely try it out if you want something that's going to be either just for looks or fun for dueling. There are a couple different ways to do that, either with the flashlight or through the LEDs. The LEDs can be any color I want them to be, which I think is super duper cool. But yeah, so thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. Let's dive into some battle footage.